What's up, War Room? We're back where we started. Connor at the Senior Bowl. This was our first
Right.
ever War Room content. CR on the ground from the hotel. After watching all this football for the past couple of days, all we're going to talk about in War Room is Senior Bowl and your Senior Bowl centric questions. Podcast will cover more general topics. CR, how we doing? How's the road life treating you?
Back in Mobile, Alabama. This is hard to believe, Joe, because you've known me since I was in college. This is my 8th Senior Bowl. And
You're a grizzled veteran now.
I really
without
am.
the grizzle.
And that's 8 of the last 9. The only one I didn't go to in the last 9 years was the peak COVID one where, I mean, I was talking to people today. It sounded like no one was here. They'd literally have to do the swab up the nose, like the real test, not like the quick saliva, like all the way up the nose. That's the only one I missed. We weren't traveling for work at the time where I was working. So it's awesome. It's now that I'm here, with PFF and NBC. I'm down on the field, right in the action. It's not just the rumors you hear, but you get to see all these players up close. This is a good offensive line group, which always plays for the Jets a little bit as well. It's and I have this trip down pat pretty much as well too, even recording Badlands late at night. So everybody give Joe a special thank you. He has waited for me to get home from a very brief dinner. It's funny. I was joking with the guys and the people that listen to Stock Exchange know my co-host Trevor, who's been on Badlands feed. We were laughing on the way home. We're like, man, we are so washed and old. Like we had dinner and we just went right home. We didn't even mess around.
It's Tuesday night. You got to get home. What are we doing
here? It's Tuesday night. Yeah. Wednesday's a big day. You and I are in Vegas for Super Bowl next week. Combine's right around the window. I'm supposed to be getting married in May. I mean, I gotta
squeeze that in. I got to save the date on my fridge. I know it's real. It's happening. You got to be ready.
I gotta keep everything together here. So real tame Senior Bowl so far, but a good long day of practice that we're going to talk about.
All right. So there's been a guy that we've been talking about for a while. You've been talking about for a while is Fuaga. A lot of buzz about the Jets and him coming out. A lot of debate over the weekend, kind of generated by us to start, about do you take Bowers or do you take him if he's still on the board? Where do the Jets even have him ranked? Although now there's rumors out there they have him very highly ranked. And then you also see some other chatter that some guys don't have him ranked as high. Some guys have him as a guard. Some guys have him as a second round player. We got sometimes we get questions actually on Patreon, not in the Discord. And we got one that I think leads into a good Fuaga talk. This is from Ryan Lynch. Connor, what are your thoughts on Tyler Guyton? A lot of people seem to like him better than Fuaga. So where is all of this kind of sitting right now? Because it does feel like there's an interesting variance of opinions. Once you get past the first, 2 tackles, then it seems like it's a little more open from a discussion standpoint.
This is an amazing one to kind of watch unfold because, especially for you and I, because we always start the Jets draft earlier than anybody because, I mean,
what else are we going to talk about?
What else are we going to talk about? It's what Badlands was built on so often. And we get to the point where, they finish with that 10th overall pick, or even going into the New England game. You and I were looking at each other and we're like, man, this is dangerous territory if you really want one of Joe Alt or Olu Fashanu. And then you go into it, it's like, okay, it's where they are. And I like Fuaga a lot. We've been really high on him on the PFF Draft Pod, NFL Stock Exchange, and because of his power, and he's a true right tackle, and the Jets need a left tackle and a right tackle, depending on what they do with AVT. And it's funny how the tide turns now, where this is the beauty of the draft. There's so many opinions, and from people I really, really respect. Obviously, I've planted my flag pretty early that I like Fuaga a lot. I think he's closer to the Alt Fashanu tier. That's a tier for me, and I'll get to why it's not a tier for everyone. Then the next tier, which a lot of people is JC Latham. But I don't think he's in that tier. I want to be clear. I like Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu better, and I do think there is a step down, notably in pass pro. And now you have the opinions, Daniel Jeremiah, who's arguably the biggest person doing all of this right now, the draft on TV, year round, on and on. You look at him, he put Fuaga to the Jets at 10 with Olu Fashanu on the board, and he dropped his top 50 this week, and he had Fuaga ahead of Fashanu. Now, not only is that, obviously his opinion, but this is somebody that talks to a lot of people around the league. Brandon Thorne, who we've had on our feed before, who is regarded well-deserved as the best offensive line analyst in football media right now. His report is he clearly likes Fuaga, but he has been somebody that says he will translate better to guard. He doesn't fully think he's a tackle. And It felt like when you read his report, which everybody should go check out, Trench Warfare that he does, it was more back end of round 1, top of round 2. This is just the draft, Joe. Like, the opinions are all over the place. And it's funny because I feel like I'm just right in the middle. I don't think he's better than Fashanu, but I don't think he's a guard or a second round pick. So now what you're referencing is Rich Cimini. I think the word was affinity. The Joe Douglas and the Jets having, number one, there's a lot to unpack here. And you don't like discard this because Rich was the only guy saying they were thinking about taking Sauce, and he was right about it. So he knows. Rich has been doing this a long time, and he clearly knows some of their scouting thoughts with this regime. So when that comes out, there's a couple things. One, I believe it. It's not a smokescreen. It's January. Like, the Jets are clearly on Fuaga. The Jets are clearly on the tackle class. Now, two, it's not great that the Jets' draft thoughts just always seem to be out there 3 months before the draft. Broderick Jones last year, and then they always try to pivot like, no, actually. It's like, no, people know. So that's a little bit of an issue that could always cost them, because now the Bears are picking twice in the top 10. The Bears are picking at 9. What if they just say, we'll just trade out of this pick and let somebody come snipe the Jets again? Then there's also the side of it too. Would the Jets really take him over Olu Fashanu? Which I think it's easier, in my opinion, to take one of the top 2 left tackles and Fashanu and play AVT at right tackle than it is to pass on Fashanu, take Fuaga, and then maybe play AVT at left tackle, maybe go get a left tackle. I think, as much as I really like Fuaga, I've been very open that while he's gotten better in pass pro, I don't think he's ready to go protect Aaron Rodgers on an island right away compared to Fashanu, who I think is. So a lot to unpack here, but it's also interesting. And clearly we are, like, it never fails. We're in for theater. And I think the thing that Jets fans, why it's so believable with Daniel Jeremiah putting Fuaga over Fashanu to the Jets is the Jets did this in the Joe Douglas era when they took Mekhi Becton over Tristan Wirfs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So now Fuaga is not Becton. I just want to plant that